try to get your head in the hole with a headset on?
Well, no, not really.
You doing bin work again?
Mm-mm.
No.
Got a couple of those things to do still.
He came today, so he said that he's on his way to Allen, and he lives in,
Better hope all your fans are good.
he was living in Jackson, where it was.
Yeah, don't jinx us.
York's is out that last weekend, week before last. He's firing up burners and had one burn out right there. I mean, it didn't run 3 minutes. It's odd. That old thing, just put a new one on it. I haven't. So we gotta rebuild it.
I do have a couple extras, and I've got some, well, I always keep bearings, replace bearings,
It burned up. I mean, you could,
toasted the linings and all.
yeah, you could definitely smell it. In fact, I was in the shed and smelled it after they shut it off. I just Christ, that didn't smell good.
You don't go away, burn them under.
Oh, that put any mouth eye on it. Bugs.
We got none.
Got 9. Got 9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. And public body comment.
The only thing I had a question on.
Go ahead.
Or Dave Alton, when I was looking at the input side of the bids that were kind of be sent out, was there gonna be another bid for soybeans at a later date?
You'll have another bid for inputs on nitrogen and
Okay,
Yeah.
that was what, this is.
We're just trying to get the crop in this fall.
Okay, that's why, because I was like, those were missing. in the
It's pretty hard to
input.
bid that year out.
Oh, yeah, because I know.
I mean, it probably ain't gonna be nobody give you a bid, to be honest with you.
So, and that's, I didn't see it in there, so I didn't know if there was gonna be another bid letting go out for inputs later. Okay.
I will say that in what he said there, item number 5 on the agenda, it does say fall 2022 inputs.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the general public was aware there is more expense coming.
There is money in the budget for that.
Yeah, there's gonna be another. I just didn't want some to think it was a one and done, and then we turn around and say, oh, we've got to put out another thing for beans and nitrogen next spring, and then be like, I thought you did that last fall.
it's good to be on record.
Uh,
It's good to be on record.
Yeah, just so it's not a, like, oh, why didn't you tell us that back then?
Anybody else?
Here, Purdue it is. Kind of a low blow.
Kevin, got anything you want to say on it? Sure.
I never speak no
Don't be bashful on us today.
Judge will haul me out.
Okay, we'll just move on to number 3, review and discussion on bids submitted by potential operators for custom farming. I don't know which is which here.
This is farm bid. Application bid. I don't know what these are, they don't say anything. So those we know, you just want to open them all up and set them where they need to be,
Yeah.
and
you
then
wanna put
separate
agency-
them as
you
we
wanna
need to
put
be.
agency on them, or are you gonna use?
That one didn't say either, did it?
You can open that. Here, you each open 3. That's on
Puppy
the
farming
operator.
operator.
Yeah, and just put an A on it, put it, well, yeah, you don't even do anything, that's what we're gonna work on, isn't it,
Yeah,
first?
Was that one operator? What do
Put a
you
B
put
on it.
B?
and this is inputs.
Okay. So this, I don't know what this one is. Input
I'm
C.
saying that's custom operator.
So we got 3 input bids, is all we got. 2 operators so far.
Okay.
Damn, we're missing one, I thought we had 6. Are you done, Mark?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done 3. It's operator, so 3 and 3.
Green
Oh.
two.
Yeah. Since yours is invisible, go ahead and just look at that one. There. You want to sit in there?
You don't, where's this one C then?
That's C.
Won't we all just take one and read through them and then,
That's
Okay,
what you want to do?
yeah,
since you got 3,
Jeff, I'll find you some stuff, so 3 and 3 then.
Yes, 3 operator, 3 input.
Are you kidding me?
That one doesn't, just they got contract experience, and then all they've got is what they're gonna do, and how much, and I added it up minus freight.
trade that one more time. Let's see. That one's marked C.
Yeah.
you said you keep it to
121.50 before the freight and mowing. They're charging $40 an acre.
Okay.
I mean, $40 an hour to mow, and their freight is different depending on where they have to get to, so I think, you know, it's kind of, they've got this broken down a bit. They've got it, they actually have their delivery in there at $10 an acre, I'm guessing. So they're at $149 an acre with everything. Just FYI. guess maybe we should say out loud who has turned in these bids. I think we do that at the highway department. The first one I looked at was RD in Reese Waddington, which was work as DBA Double R Farms, the Assumption, Illinois area.
One I got number, or letter A. This is Luke Epley.
And the third one was Hennings Farms, Inc. In Shelbyville here. Those are the three operator bids.
There should be another one there, there should be one from Katie Compton.
We better go ask Jessica and make sure we got all of them.
Inputs.
I think sometimes too.
I turned the packet in its entirety, the front page was, had the input stuff on it.
Oh, it could be.
Oh, right.
Anything sitting in there stuff there?
I think we are missing some, because I know there was another one supposed to be turned in. At least one more, because he told about it.
I'll look underneath, make sure it isn't something else in the,
You looking in
okay, that's
the
good.
input one?
Looking to make sure there wasn't,
Oh,
you know, kind of labeled a little differently.
got you.
Did you find it?
Mm-mm. That's a good one. It's,
Does Jessica have anything?
She said everything was on the corner of her desk. Was you the one that put it in the envelope
This morning, yes.
this morning?
Yes.
She said you put it in an envelope.
Handed it to Lisa Sweeney and they took it to the back room.
what color envelope was it?
That color. It didn't have anything on the front of it or anything, just a plain envelope.
Yeah, there may be some hid over there then, if she didn't put anything on it.
There's a 2 on that one. Is there some chance? Here it is. Okay, I got it. Yep. Right there.
I'm saying this is B.
Okay. We're gonna go back here for a second and just verify there wasn't any others. Yours, you had the input thing on the front page.
Yeah, I just.
So
I did-
what we saw when we opened it was invitation for input bid.
Yeah.
That's why we thought it was an input bid
Okay.
instead of
It all
a
comes the same.
operator bid. But yours, we have yours right here.
Okay.
So the third one is,
Fourth.
fourth one's Kenny Compton. I'll let you guys start looking through that. I'm gonna make sure these are all input bids and we don't have another operator bid here. Here's another operator bid.
There you go.
Yeah, what they're doing, we just looked and saw the front page for invitation to bid for inputs. It's an operator.
Oh,
So that would be operator number 5.
so we don't have any.
We must have one, I hope.
Don't get rid of these covers.
Yeah.
Those ones still got something in it.
We had 6 total, right? We did not get, well, let's make that one still. This is another operator bid. We have no input bids. Set that to the side.
Done?
No. looked through this one?
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked through the Hennies?
Yes.
Okay. He's just gonna charge $1,000 to mow it twice.
Are we taking all, we got the Indian Parade
Yeah.
on the other side?
Yeah, so to take it divided by 196.3, I would say.
Okay.
Yes. Does that beat envelope, right?
We got rid of them and just set them off to the side, somewhere three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
On that.
Which one is that? I've seen that one.
Yep.
I have not seen this one.
Okay.
You can look through this one. So this one's 150 times 2 divided by 196.3. So he's gonna be 153 an acre.
Chet Metzger's who I'm looking at. You guys want to know?
Okay,
You want to put those together?
yeah.
Get this one marked.
Chet Metzger, you looked at it?
No, I have not.
I think you looked at all of them. So, did you look at him? And that's just what their history is and what the cost is, because everything else is just a contract. They
Yeah.
signed it, they agreed to everything in it, so.
Okay, we'll do it too. You see this one, Mark?
Yeah, I wrote that down at the bottom.
Here?
Yes.
Okay. Brian, you seen this one too?
Mhm. Yeah. I've seen them all.
That's on the city,
Which one do you have?
I think the one Mark's got, I gotta see yet. Is it? I've got Compton, Metzger's, Reed, Equity, and Hennings.
So you need this one?
Yeah.
Give me, Compton's. No, I see it now. I got one. Got that one.
Before freight, no, no.
Right. Before. So,
And I did $40 and. I mean, you're estimating what you think.
let's just say 180. Well,
Let's just say it makes 80 bushel. What do we use in our,
Sandy,
okay, let's just take it times 70 bushel times. It's 1375.
I think you just had 7 times.
So you gotta do 70 times 0.10 is 7 times 3, 1374. So it's $7 then. An acre.
No.
$7 an acre.
Okay.
70 bushel.
Okay.
Yeah, 70 bushel times 0.10 is $7
Yes.
an acre. So you can add $7. You might as well say $7 on this one.
Okay. It gives us a number.
And then you got the same thing here, say double crop beans will be less. Just say 40 times. That's gonna be $4.
So 74.
That'd be $11. So that'd be $132.50
Right.
if my addition is correct.
Right. 133. Oop.
And $40 an hour. What do you think that would be an acre?
Yeah, that leaves that open.
Mm-hmm.
You need the Iowa State custom charter or not?
They're saying just $40 an hour to mow. We're trying to get it on a per acre basis.
Yeah. That is a tough one to do.
Yeah, well, we asked for per acre, didn't we?
No, a lot of that to put in is just, that's $3 an acre. You know, they're just charging $3.
Right.
They're doing, that's an acre basis. We were able to break that one down in a per acre basis.
Right. Because we didn't have any total dollars for this.
That one's on a per acre basis already.
Yeah, let's see.
And that one we were able to break down on a per acre basis.
I don't know what the average of that is.
153, there at 6, that's 5. We're at 15.
Yes,
Yes.
noticed that too.
Okay.
What did he come up with there on that one for point per acre?
That's what we're trying to come up with, because we have 5.09, we have 6. We have, 153.
Well, it ranges anywhere from 12 to 24. Well, wait a minute, take that back, I'm sorry. That's CRP. Mowing fence rows, ditches per hour. The average is 69.90.
See, we're figuring on all acres, not just
Yeah,
what is
I
actually
know.
mowed.
I know.
So if you look at this, Jeff, so on total dollars, instead of looking by acres or anything, see total dollars here. Here's the total dollars on this one,
Yep.
big difference there. You're talking
I guess
12, almost 1,200. This one's 1,000, this one's 150. This one just says per hour. That's what we're trying to,
Yeah.
and then 1, 2, 3, 4, that fifth one's too.
The one we eliminated.
Thought that was the sixth one.
Well, the one was like 249.
Okay, yes.
Just
Oh, here, it's crossed over. And then this one, which,
I went pretty much by the total.
this was just,
Yeah. Seen that too.
so I think this would be the next one we'll ask Brian about. And this one.
I'm good with that.
Yes. I do, me, I as well.
That mowing's a tricky one, I mean,
Huh?
that mowing's a tricky one.
Yeah, I think to me, when I look at it,
Well, I mean, it's for not really know. Hopefully they went back and looked at it and see what there was up against.
see, when you look at this one, do they realize how much mowing there is?
Apparently not.
I mean, it's,
Well, you know, if that's what they,
yeah, right,
I mean, they're bidding,
Right.
so
yes.
maybe they know something I don't.
You just let it know.
Not me. That's expensive.
We do have a rather wide span. And we've got some things that aren't even in the way the bids work. You have an acre, you have it per hour.
I heard you mention per hour. I mean, is that like for like planting and harvesting?
No, that's all per acre.
Okay,
That-
well, I thought the bid, or
Yeah.
the, contract was supposed to say that.
Some of the mowing got turned into,
Hours,
yeah,
Or each time, which
Yeah.
I think we did, yeah, we do show on our request for 2 mowings, so.
yeah.
I drove up last week and looked at it, and with all the terraces and waterways you want mowed, I figured it's gonna take between 4 to 6 hours to mow all that each time. That's how I come up with my conclusion on that.
terraces are mowable, I guess, they're not the high grass backs and stuff.
Do we know what's in CRP and what isn't?
I can't get anything out of there. That'd be up to Brian on
We'll have
that.
to ask Brian, because that dictates whether that gets mowed once or twice.
Yeah, I was thinking it was mowed once a year before.
They want you to notice it.
The CRP ground only gets mowed once a year, so ground that is under CRP then will be mowed twice.
Does that have some CRP on it?
We have to wait, we have to ask Brian. Brian has the information on that.
I didn't know, I've never heard
We
that.
can't request it from them. Brian was to check on that.
It may not even be, I don't
May
know.
not be any.
And I'm sure them was put in several years ago, whatever it is, probably expired.
They, wow, have to be resubmitted.
May not be eligible for anything.
Oh, Terrace Creek, you can never farm it anything.
Yeah.
Any of the bottom ground or anything. You know what? Yeah, we'll just wait and ask Brian.
Yeah, I had no clue. They're kind of hush hush on that. I'd asked for it.
That's the reason. Yeah, I'd ask Brian to.
I don't blame them for doing their job. Well, what do you suggest with no input bids?
I think we're gonna have to resubmit, ask again, we may have to make.
I know for,
They might think differently since there was none.
I know for like the meals over to jail, there's nothing. And we went and knocked on doors again.
And some of that could be because we've asked before for them, and then they may feel like, well, waste of time. So we may have to go back and ask again.
I got hold of my FS guy and then called him to train. At least let him know the package was there. Did you say anything, Miller, or I guess it's
I sent him a link to the.
I still call it Miller's, but I still call it Miller's, but
Yeah. Guy Prayer.
yeah, there you go. And then Bobby had said he was gonna get a hold of Equity.
Jeff, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead. I can't hardly hear you though.
Well, that's because I was, when they're talking about mowing, does that also include the cemetery? Are they in charge of mowing the cemetery, or does somebody else do that?
We will have to find out from Brian whether the cemetery is part of the farm or whether it's a separate entity.
Because if you just say.
Whether it might be mapped out of that.
Right. And I was thinking it was. I was thinking it was four posts. I don't believe it includes the cemetery.
There are 4 posts out there.
Does Westerville take weed?
Years ago, but I do not know now. Do you know, Dave, if Westerville takes weed?
Yeah, it used to.
I would assume they would.
I thought last year, Consumption Co-op said just the painless facility. Yeah, yeah,
Well, it could be.
Well, I don't think
Didn't pass
South
last
Central
year.
up here does, do they?
Huh?
South Central up here, uptown don't, do they?
You mean FS?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They take weed or
Oh,
not?
yeah, they got that concrete silo they fill full of weed.
Do they?
I know Brian said that Legacy in Moequa took in a lot of weed last year.
I think about all of them do. It's just if there's any planted in their area.
I haul into Payne, but I need to go to Assumption and other, it's just.
Well, Westerville is part of Assumption Co-op.
Right, I
Yes.
know.
Okay.
But they've got their other branches around.
You guys make a decision.
No.
Did you come up with anything?
Well, we did think that this one.
It's gone.
Yes.
But yeah, I think you get to probably eliminate the 149. This one.
I'm good with that.
This is reading there. There's not a doubt in my mind there ain't one of them here.
Oh, there's nothing was turned in this, they're not capable. Yes or no?
Yes. Okay, now what's the real differences?
The Reese one, I'll tell you what concerned me on that. It was 121, then plus the mowing and hauling on top of it. So I'm.
We added some, but we did some figuring
I'm
for that.
afraid, we're just guessing.
So what'd you come up?
We come up with about $11 an acre for both. If it's, then we use 80 bushel wheat and
And
40 bushel
beans,
double
and
crop
we
beans.
used 10 cents.
So that puts him at what?
132.52. To me,
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at, and that's there.
Okay. Because it could be more, there's no
Yeah.
exact.
So that leaves us these two.
Personally,
The difference is $1 here, several dollars there, cheaper here, and cheaper on the mowing.
I'll be honest, you guys do whatever you want.
I like the idea also that there's a young man driver.
Yeah, I do too, I noticed that too.
I noticed it on a couple of them, I thought that was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts then, Mark? Go with this one,
Yeah, I think so.
Brian?
I'm good. It's very close in
It
number.
is.
Kenny,
Yes.
I got a question for you if you don't mind asking. If you don't want to, just let me know. On your harvest and delivery, you've got a flat charge. Does that include the trucking in that?
Trucking included.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Yes.
Why do you put that in form of motion to?
And it's still got trucking to be determined. Unless I don't know if he's got that,
Well,
and 10 cents a bushel delivery.
if we figure it out.
$11, yeah.
4.
At the low end. That puts that up to roughly $11 more. It's 20, is it, easy math, $2,200 more.
You lost me there on that.
I'm sorry, I thought that should have been.
And 10 cents a bushel for delivery. That's an and
Yeah,
sign.
so it's the other one.
Is that
Oh, I
and
thought-
or add?
Yeah, that is and. I don't know the dollar sign.
To me, that's an
And, Amber.
What,
So that's $10 to that bid.
That's what we got kind of figured out. Yeah, we going 11, but
did you guys write this or did he?
that's us figuring out what the mowing was. He said 150 each time, so we divided it by 300 divided by that, about 53 to add. So that's his actual, but
We're trying to get it per acre.
the 10 cents a bushel delivery is what's throwing me. Add $3 and 10 cents bushel delivery.
So with the figures we used on the other one, that's $11.
I like what you're saying about it being a young kid getting started, but I gotta go with $2,200 more in my pocket. His is on a per acre basis, or
It's $25 an acre for the combining and $5 for the hauling.
Okay.
That's
okay,
how I do
that's what I'm trying to clarify
it.
there.
Yes, yeah, that's the way I figured it.
Is there a phone number here? clarification on that through him, like I gave Kenny the chance to
Yeah,
clarify?
why don't you go make a call?
You wanna call it up?
Yes.
Because that's a big difference between those two, if that is where I'm reading it.
When the bids are final, are we gonna be able to hear the dollar amounts that will be?
Sure we will. Not, it'll be filed in the courthouse.
That's
Yeah.
somewhere.
You're not gonna announce them?
I can, yeah, or we can. I mean, that's what we do.
could
We do that
give
at
them
the,
without names attached, couldn't we? Just give the amounts if they want to.
At the,
Hey, Zach.
at the
This is
highway
Jeff
department,
from
everything is
Frankfurt.
red
Hey, got a
when they turn it
question
in,
on bid.
X and Y.
On your
person
harvest delivery on wheat and harvest delivery on beans, you got $32. And then is that 10 cents on top of that as well? Okay. So the, yeah, so where did you come up with 32 then? Okay, the 32, okay, plus 10, all right, okay,
So that one,
I'm following you
$10
now.
too, and I don't think it's.
Okay, I
I
follow
think
you,
it kicks out.
got you. Okay, you answered my question. Thank you, sir. That is the way it is.
So you gotta add roughly another, we had, on the other one, we did 11, so keep it apples to apples, we'll just do that, so that one puts that at, which is quite a bit substantially more than that one,
Yeah.
which I do like the idea of the youth, but we also gotta look for taxpayers, and what's best for the taxpayers.
Yep.
So, you wanna read all these out, who they were, and
Yeah, I don't think we ought to pass one first or go through them first.
it's up to you.
You guys make a motion for what you want.
I make a motion to approve Kenny Compton as the operator for Shelby County Farm for the 22-23 crop year. Low bid
To take to the,
at 120, we'll take this to the board, this is just our recommendation to the board, of 122.09 an acre on the low bid.
I'll second.
Is that CEO and
Just like it sounds, Tom.
yeah, just like Brian sounds.
Hey, my mom made it where it's difficult for people to figure out how to spell my name. She wanted me to be unique, and she didn't realize I was going to be unique in my own way without that weird spelling. Seconded by
Yes,
Mark.
I did.
We need roll call, or can we just,
And we're spending money, we'll call it,
yeah,
just to be safe.
Mark,
Yes.
Yes.
and I'm gonna say no.
Just a tidbit, just FYI, if I may. Your 5-member committee requires 3 to make the passage of anything under OMA. So even though you don't have 2 here, you need 3 to make a.
I guess I'll vote yes then.
Well, there's another one.
Just wanted.
I don't want to delay this anymore.
Yeah. The second highest, lowest bid was Zach Ballard. After we did some extrapolating, we got to 135.53. We had to add $11 an acre for hauling. His original was roughly 124.53. $11 put him up to 135.
What was his last name?
Ballard,
Ballard. Yes.
This was the actual
Yeah, to be
total.
exact, it's actually 135.53
3, yes.
This is the actual total on this one.
122.09.
per acre.
Third lowest was Double R Soil and Swine, RD and Reese Waddington at extrapolated out without adding in the mowing, they were at $132.50. Yeah, I added that in. We just didn't know how to do the mowing at $40 an hour. But they were, even for the mowing, they were higher. Fourth one was Hennings Farm Inc. at $149 an acre. Fifth one was Chet Metzger at $195 an acre. And last one was Luke Epley at $250.5 an acre. So there is our operator, I guess. That is this one. All right.
Oh, couple questions. Do we have any CRP grant?
Cannot answer that. Not that we're getting paid for it, I don't think.
Second one
No,
is,
we could participate in the program, but we can't receive any funds. That's
Okay.
That works.
I think you're
So
right.
there would be none. Just now remember that.
okay, yeah. Is cemetery part of our
Mowing.
mowing? In other words, is it actually our land, or is it been set out?
I think it's been set out, if I remember right from the last map I've seen. I mean, they got it marked out, blocked
I
out.
think it was four corners posts.
I couldn't tell you where it is on that map. I don't,
think it's
we do
blocked
not
out.
have a cemetery that I show.
I understand that as far as ownership, it's not been blocked out. As far as a
Yeah.
right of way to the township or
No, it's
Crawford
under,
County.
it's under the county. So
So that will be part of that mowing
I would assume it would be. That's how I would assume that, but
for twice a year.
yeah.
Dan Crane had an agenda stuck in there somewhere. Did you talk to Nicole?
Yes, I did. One or two things we could possibly do on, we did not get any input supplier bids. It was put out for bid.
Yeah.
Nobody bid on it.
Did you say something to anybody at Equity or get hope? I did too.
To them.
So
Yesterday, they were supposed to get
stuff together, increase prices.
up-to-date pricing and schedule. That's what they're, and I'm sure there was probably some, I was busy and I'm sure they were busy too.
What's,
So one or two things. We can buy the seed. Since it was put out for bid, nobody bid it. We can pick a seed dealer to get it. It's under the 30,000 on the seed side. Bring it back to the board at another date to approve that purchase. Do the same thing with the others, except for the fertilizer would be over 30. So I don't know how you would deal with that. Or, if Kenny would approve it, amending the contract, we could have him garner the inputs, and then we pay him for the inputs. Since it all went out to bid and nobody bid, it's pretty much open territory then. From what I've gathered, Kirk, I'm going to ask your opinion. I know you deal with this a lot more than what I have.
By doing that, you've changed the whole bidding process. I mean,
By having the, okay, we're just trying to figure out something.
in my opinion, because if I'm one who came close, and now you're changing the process, but that's a question for your legal counsel.
Okay, I had not thought of it. It was a quick conversation I had when I was gone with our legal counsel, and we were trying to figure out how to work through. But as far as trying to pick an input supplier date, I think we are pretty much at a standstill, and we'll have to revisit this at another time. From what I'm hearing.
Can we,
the question I'm looking at, it's just kind of like when they bid for meals at jail. Obviously, we got to feed them. We got a responsibility there. And this, well, what I would call this is a responsibility as well. I don't know what else to do. Pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah, I
They
think
can't
buying
pay.
direct is gonna be, I think, probably your only option. If nobody's gonna bid on it, you still have to.
We still gotta go, but we still gotta get it approved by the
Right.
board on those purchases.
Right. I'd be curious to contact them, find out why they didn't bid.
I know why one of them did not bid, and I'm not gonna say that in a public entity.
I won't either, I know why another one didn't either, so.
So, Bobby, you got any ideas?
Got a few minutes.
Not off the top of my head.
Call your equity guy.
Fertilizer's been fluctuating lately, and and most of them wanna know, when you're gonna pay for it, and they'll give you,
Well,
stuff. Look,
the way this is set up, we'll pay for it when it's done because we have the money budgeted.
When they apply it, then you pay.
Yeah,
And when you pick up seed, you pay.
yeah.
And I can't help but think somebody would give you a bid on that.
South
It was
Central
kind of
Public
short
Power.
notice.
Who's your salesman?
It's Austin, I don't remember his last name.
You got his number?
It's out the car, yeah. I just met with him yesterday about that, and asked if they was putting a bid in. They thought you guys was on, like, charity, they didn't think they were gonna get paid for it. Yeah, but
Oh.
they're getting paid. That's
You
why they
gotta be
didn't put a
kidding
bid in.
me, that's,
No, that's what he told me, him and then, that Jeremy was with him too.
talked to my man with Sturtson and said, no, like I told him, it's a bid, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I told him, but he didn't think they had enough time, and he thought they should try to get some stuff donated to the
there
county.
ain't no sense calling him, man, you just answered my question.
Yeah.
Make a request to resubmit?
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we ask to have input resubmitted.
The guy's a tired hell to get put a bid for us.
Especially since nobody did, surely somebody will come and
Nope.
pretty well open. Because unless there's two.
And about
I
10
know
minutes.
Dan ought to sublease.
Well, actually, nobody
Well-
put a bid, and that's why I'm sitting here scratching my head.
Somebody will give you an order, just.
Like I said, the only one really that we have an issue
Tell them,
with is the
you know.
fertilizer because it's over 30,000
Okay,
still.
that's-
It was bid out.
And you're gonna need your wheat fertilizer and your wheat seed here coming up here.
Well, the wheat seed is the most important thing we need right now.
Don't feel like the Lone Ranger.
I haven't been by those beans lately. I don't know what they look like. Are they turning?
2.5 weeks, yeah, they're turning yellow.
So about 3 weeks to get harvested, that puts you.
Nope,
His first contact was Dathan.
not a one.
Was Dathan contacted?
Anyhow,
I don't hear well, so.
As they, was Dathan Summers contacted the Nutrien? He's a young salesman
I told Nutrien.
that did
We covered all the major ones through here. Like I
I
said,
didn't talk to him personally, I just give him the link to it.
yeah. Well, somebody talked to somebody that I know of, and I was kind of told why.
Understand? So then are you gonna have a recommendation to the full board with the split vote, or?
We can take the
the
recommendation for the operator, and we gotta figure out this input
Well, I'm
deal.
referencing the operator side to get closure there.
I personally feel as a board, we can make a recommendation that we, as a committee to the board, to go ahead and purchase the wheat seed. And even though we don't know, because we just gotta, we can,
2 weeks, that's gonna be before the next,
Yeah.
regular board meeting.
yeah.
Where are we at in the month?
Do I?
Where are we
month?
at in the month?
We got 2 weeks, we got a week. A week from Saturday is 1st October.
Two and a half weeks, so yeah, we're not very far from the next board meeting anyway.
Fly-free date is what, 4th?
7th
7th?
for us,
That's-
or 6 or 7. So I didn't want to present that this morning. You got guys on the phone, what'd you guys
So,
make?
provided that the beans are harvested, like when they are
Sounds like about 3
like
weeks.
snap finger at the very first moment they're ready, provided that all happens, we don't have any weather delays, just hustle and bustle delays, I mean, provided that they're harvested by the 13th, which is 3 weeks away, that's the next board meeting, is the 13th of October, we could have a fair shake at getting stuff done between now and then, between the 13th, even have stuff that's finalized on the 13th. And,
So will we actually have to rebid this again, put it in the paper?
Or can you just call them up and say an extension, another 10 days to resubmit? I don't know.
I mean, we've done what was required as far as I'm concerned.
I
Right,
think we can just,
I think we can make a phone call and say, look, guys,
what I'm thinking, right?
quit screwing around.
It'd be nice to get a conclusion and know where you're at and move forward.
I'd still put it out, just for the sake of argument.
How long you want to put it to bid for then again? Like I said, we've met that requirement once. How many times we got to do it? Any advice, Kurt?
I don't have the statute in front of me, but off the top of my head, you met the requirement. After that, I don't know that it spells out
what
I
happens.
mean, what happens after that. It would be a case.
Kind of what I'm going through my head on.
I mean, because when your hands are tied and you have to get the job done,
And nobody bid.
Nobody bid, you can go out and just get whoever you want.
I think that's where case law comes into it, where there's probably cases where that's happened, but I don't know the answer to it.
Well, the one thing we've got going in our favor, and I say favor because agriculture in general is a very dog-eat-dog world. Everybody is pretty much close on price in most places. I make a motion that we use South Central FS as our input provider.
Did they provide last year's stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, apples to apples, everything is fairly close. It just depends on, it might depend on fertilizer more than anything, when they get the shipment in. That's my motion.
South Central's full of fertilizer, they said they were stocked up, so they're trying to get.
Seeing there was a lack of any bid, and we met our due diligence in getting bids,
I'll second it.
we're spending money, Jeff. And then any discussion, I guess, we should have.
I've got the competitive bid statute pulled up, I'm just trying to find if there is anything that I can brush through real fast to find if there's a failure to bid.
Well, in the meantime, we'll vote.
Well, let's let him do his due diligence first. We got some time.
Kind of storming in here.
Oh my gosh. Found my laptop, but
It's a lot easier.
do a word search. And
That's it, pretty much.
And we got a discussion on the recommendation for the crops input supplier and the operator still, which I think we kind of did.
Yeah. Well, it's
Do we need to go back through there for each one?
I don't think
Because
so.
we opened the bids and we made a motion. We kind of combined
Yeah.
3 and 6, and we're kind of combining 4 and 5 into this one little deal here. Since 4 was pretty much nothing because there was nothing to review. No bids were, make sure you got that put in the notes. No bids were received from the input side.
Find anything?
On a quick brush through, no, I didn't find anything.
The only provision is for data software. If you can't, you don't have to put it out for bid for that, or if you don't get bids, you can do data software purchases, but it's silent on anything else, so that's where case law.
Well, I made the motion, Mark seconded it.
Bobby,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Brian,
Yes.
and I'll say yes. Anything, that should be it.
Should be here. Move to adjourn.
A second.
Anybody seconds the adjournment?
You did.
No, I didn't hear him say it. I thought he
Who
asked,
did?
is there a
You
second?
did.
Oh, I did?
You did.
Okay.
I thought he said, is there a second?
Oh, I
Always
thought you said
can't
I
walk
second.
Right, at the same
Mark
time.
will second it.
I'll second.
And that's just the recommendation to the county board, which comes up in, as soon as we get everything moved around.
All those in favor?
It's on TV.
He's right.
Okay.
Huh?
You want me to take these two? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So that everything's, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, good right there.
Yeah. Just wanna make sure stuff works.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Q on there. Can you watch? Yeah.
Meeting adjourned?
Yes.
Make
I'm gonna set these on your desk. Just I don't know if she's the top one or the one that we, they'll probably need to
Maybe they just had a different setting from us.
Thank you, thank you.
She passed out the things on Yeah.
Slurpees went from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane. You gonna be the
I'll move on down.
I'll check it out again.
Okay.
You got one?
I did.
Okay.
Let me stand up.
There you go.
You guys go see Elvis?
Everything else did.
I'm gonna call this special board meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and give the Pledge of Allegiance. You can see the flag, so I'm going to walk out here so they can see it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kenny Barr. Barbara Bennett.
Here.
Mark Bennett.
Here.
Teresa Bain.
Here.
Brian Kaufman.
Here.
Cassie Cox. Dennis Durnovich.
Here.
Jesse Durbin.
Here.
Julie Edwards.
Here.
Gary Gergany. Rod Height.
Here.
Matt Kessler. Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Sharon Ongman. Bobby Warman.
Here.
Gary Patterson. Derek Piercy. Robert Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Slifer.
Here.
David Switz. Don Tate.
Here.
Lynn Williams.
Here. We do have a quorum. Going to move on to number 4, public body comment. If there is any, please state your name when you stand up, and 5-minute time period. Any public body comment? Yes, sir.
My name's Cody Brands. I just have a question on why this is happening at 10 o'clock in the morning and not in the evening when more people can come.
It's happening because we had a committee meeting right before this that needed to be voted on as soon as we could. That's why.
So it couldn't wait a few more hours for the rest of the community to come? This doesn't make any sense because this just happened last month too, correct?
September 1st, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just wanted to ask that question.
Thank you. Any other?
Martha Fernhamer. I'm going to echo what Cody said. At the last county board meeting, when you had this presentation and nobody could hear it, it was said that it was going to be had at the next monthly meeting, which would be in the evening, when your taxpaying constituents could show up, hear what's going on. You got almost half your board that can't be here today because it's a 10 a.m. meeting, and it's just not right. It should be at 7 o'clock at night like the normal county board meetings are, and the work should be done in front of the public so they can see what's going on.
Thank you. Any other public body comment? Any other public body comment? Any public body comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 5. Discussion and vote on operator for the Shelby County Farm for recommendation of the Farm Committee. We had 6 bids put in for operator bids. I think the highest was $250 and change an acre. The lowest was $122.09 an acre. And everything varied kind of in between. Jeff, would you like to take this over? I guess I should let you as committee chairman.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm just trying to run through and get this meeting
You're better
through
than
here.
me.
So, it was a recommendation of the farm committee to select the lowest bid of $122.09 of Kenny Compton to be the operator at Shelby County Farm for the 22-23 crop year. Is there a motion? Jeff, do I have a second? Teresa or Julie, whichever one you want to put. See, I got you both of you. Did it to me again. You sat next to each other. So Teresa, you both raise your hand at the same time. Any discussion?
Is, the operator here?
He left.
Oh, he did?
Yes. Seeing no discussion, this should be a voice roll call vote for the part of spending money.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Mark Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Brian Kaufman.
Yes.
Dennis Durnovich.
Yes.
Jesse Durbin.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Jeff Slifer,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 14 ayes.
All right, move on to number 6. Discussion and vote on crop input supplier for the Shelby County Farm per recommendation of the Farm Committee. Jeff, I'll let you.
That was easy at first because we didn't have any bids. What makes it difficult is it's getting crunch time, and what we decided means it was already bid out. What we're asking is to accept Central FS to be our supplier for seed, wheat, fertilizer for this fall crop. That's what we're asking.
Mark?
I would like to also add that we tried to do a quick search to find out what our
The statute said.
statutes say. We could not find anything at the time, and that's why we're going this route.
We did our due diligence of putting it out for bid. From my understanding, once it's put out bid and there is no bids, you pretty much can choose who you wish at that time. The fortunate thing, or unfortunate thing about agriculture is it's pretty much a dog-eat-dog world. Everybody's pretty much fighting each other for competition. The prices are usually fairly similar. So we made a decision as a committee.
Just now thought of something, might want to add to that. If South Central don't want to deal with this, we're going to have to go somewhere else. So maybe put that into the lowest that's up beyond South Central, or just leave it alone.
I'd leave it alone.
Okay.
Personally, it can be amended if somebody wants to amend it.
But just,
It's kind of difficult to amend your own motion.
yeah, it is.
No, we haven't had a motion yet. You did not make a motion. You just presented it, so. What's your motion, Lynn?
Exactly what he said.
To accept South Central as the, okay. Is there a second? Barb, any discussion on this?
Are you going, this is for this fall, are you going to try to rebid for the seed and stuff for the stubble beans?
The stubble beans and the nitrogen was not put in on this bid spec. The bid spec here was just for fall spray, chemical, fertilizer, and seed.
Okay.
It'll have to be revisited because the crop will need a dose of nitrogen. We will have to have bean seed bought, and that'd be the two inputs that will need to be purchased at a later date. Yes, Barb?
I need to pull my second, my sister works for South Central FS.
Barb needs to pull her second. Do I have another? Julie, seconds. It took me a second. Any other discussion?
Will we know in time whether they'll supply us with?
I would hope that we would know real quick.
I'll make a phone call.
It's just the recommendation of the board to utilize them, seeing there was no bids, and we did our due diligence of putting the bids out in a timely manner, and they were out for several days. Roll call again.
Barbara Bennett,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Brian Hoffman,
Yes.
Dennis Turnovich,
Yeah.
Jesse Durbin,
Yeah.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Rod Height,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Jeff Slifer,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes, 13 ayes, 1 pass, Barb Bennett.
All right. You think Josh is ready?
Josh, you ready?
You could hear him earlier. He was scheduled for 10:30, so we're a little early on.
Josh, you there?
He was scheduled for 10:30, so we're a little early on.
Josh, you there?
So that's a test of the sound system. Glad to see that, right? Read a lot of fine print.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Josh, you there?
Going on. He tested.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Hey, are you there? Are you there? No.
No, that's just you.
No.
That's just you.
I did that. He's in there because he's showing up.
I don't like
I did that. He's in there because he's showing up.
There's Josh. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
Here, let me.
You know, leave it alone. So we might have you.
Okay, can you hear us, Josh? Okay, can you hear us, Josh?
It's like you got it on the internal speaker. You pick up us.
No, we tried that yesterday. Let me go call us at the clerk's office.
24.
It won't come on bucks.
Okay,
There's
all
talking
right.
about chance of rain.
So it must be on his side then. Okay, yeah, because
Yeah, yeah. Anytime we get the heat, we get rain.
We're up 3 tips.
yeah, because it's on his end. Okay. Yeah, because he's saying he can't hear, so.
I can't find it. You know, hard, they'll take
Okay, okay, all right.
trust me, get that wood, Sharon knows what's around her annoying floor.
Right. And you said that the audio should be bouncing around when we talk, because it's not doing that.
She can hear it ticking, she knows.
Right, and we tested and it was good.
I was spoken.
Yes.
I asked him,
No.
I don't really like that water, so
Well, it shows green for joint audio.
I asked him, can we expect the truck? Do you ever use canes?
Oh,
Can you hear us now?
oh, there we are. We're good.
You there now?
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, I think we got it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The floor is yours, Josh.
Okay. It's a little. All right. Sorry, everyone. We'll give this another shot. My name is Josh Faber. I'm a senior manager with Whipley. I'm going to go over your guys' 2021 audit briefly. Just going to go over some highlights for you. I know we had a handout that I gave out the last time. I know we had some technical difficulties then too, so I'm just going to kind of go over the same stuff. So hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better this time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask along the way. So just so you guys are aware, this is for the 8/31/2021 audit. So obviously, that's a year ago. We'll be getting the 8/31/2022 audit year started, within the next month or so, and should get that one out to you guys a lot sooner than this one. So I know there was delays with things, but should be caught up now. So as far as the audit goes, there's six different opinions that we issue for the audit. 2 related to the financial statements for the county and circuit clerk. Those had unmodified opinions, so good, clean passing grade there. There was also 2 opinions related to government auditing standards for internal control and financial reporting and compliance for the county and circuit clerk. Both unmodified opinions there, no issues. The single audit, so for the federal grants that you guys spend, we have to do specific testing on the internal control and compliance over those federal grants for the county side, and we had a clean unmodified opinion there, so no issues on that end as well. And then the last one is on compliance and internal control for the circuit clerk regarding their specific funds, and there's no issues on the modified opinion there. So six opinions that we issued for the audit, and all 6 were unmodified, clean opinions. So that's good news. It's a clean passing grade, exactly what you guys want to hear. So no issues on that. Just a few things to note. This year things looked a little differently because we had a new implementation of an accounting standard of GASB 84. I'll explain kind of how that impacted things a little bit later on, mostly related to your township motor fuel tax funds. That's kind of what played the biggest factor in your commissary fund. But as we looked at those comparisons from this year to last year, I'll kind of show you guys how that kind of changed. The county expended about $1.8 million of federal funds during FY21. The largest amount of those was the public transportation funds, of about just over $1 million was expended. COVID money that you guys had spent, you guys spent about $1.2 million of COVID funds in FY21, and that's coming from 6 different programs. So you guys obviously received ARPA money. That's a big thing going on right now. But in FY21, there's 6 different programs that received different types of COVID funding, and about $1.2 million total was spent for those. I know, one of the things that doesn't show up on your guys' books, but one thing I do want to bring up to you guys is your net pension liability as it relates to the county. Obviously, you guys invest in IMRF, pay money to the state for IMRF, and then they invest your funds for the pensions for the county. This year, your guys' liability went from liability to an asset. So it went from so it is now an asset of about $906,000 as a result investment funds. I want to specify that is based as of 12/31/2020. the state comes out with the actuarial reports on a calendar year basis. So obviously, 12/31/2020 was the most recent as available as of 8/31/2021. So, obviously with the recent investment that we've had lately and the losses that might change as of 12/31/2022, but still in good shape. You're 100% funded, so all good news there. That doesn't show up on your books anywhere, but there's a footnote disclosure, and if you guys are really interested in seeing, how that changes year over year, pages 51 through 53 of the audit report will kind of show you guys how that changes for each plan of IMREF. So, nothing on your financial books for it, but I just kind of, it's important for you guys to understand it, so I kind of want to just, let you guys know that. So. And then kind of the last thing is that all cash and deposits are properly collateralized. So you guys are required to have, all cash and deposits collateralized at banks, and you guys did so. So good news there. Next thing I'll kind of go over is just a change in the general fund from current year to prior year. One of the big, obviously, the biggest change this year was in intergovernmental revenues. You guys had a $221,000 increase in state income tax, a $205,000 increase in sales tax, and you guys had an additional $503,000 of those CARES COVID funding. So, all that led to about $1 million increase in intergovernmental revenue. So that's kind of why that looks so different from last year. And then public safety expenses, went up from last year, and that's largely due to increased holiday time and overtime pay. So that's for the general fund, but for the rest of the governmental funds, this is kind of where that GASB 84 related to fiduciary activities really made a change. If you're looking at it, intergovernmental revenues went up significantly. Also, so did charges for services and public works expenses. That's largely due to township motor fuel tax in prior year was considered a fiduciary activity, so it was not considered part of your guys' audit report. It's shown as a fiduciary activity in the back pages. This year, it's now, due to this accounting standard, it's now included as a governmental fund. So that's why those changes look so significant, because township motor fuel tax revenue is now included in intergovernmental revenue. So, that column for the change looks a little skewed this year, and that's largely just due to those changes from last year. One of the other things that you'll see, if you look at the different expense functions, last year IMRF and Social Security did not break out your expenses based on, the function of the expense. So we go through and basically take, percentage salaries for sheriff, the treasurer's office, the county clerk's office, what function they belong to, and we'll split out, those IMRF and Social Security expenses appropriately based on, those percentage of functions. So those are, some things to look at for this year, kind of why things changed. Obviously with that reporting change that was not reflected in 2020, that's why things look so different. But obviously going forward and having, those comparative years should be a little bit easier for the 2022 audit comparing to 2021. Does anybody have any questions so far?
I think we're good.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, got one question.
Okay.
In fact, I got a few of them.
Yep.
Where does the audit outline the budget? We're over the budget. How much are we over the budget?
So the pages for the budget are outlined on note 2 of the audit report, so that would be pages 30 and 31. That shows each of the funds that's overspent. So that's a lot different this year, also because this accounting standard were reported because those township motor fuel tax funds that you guys probably don't budget for are now included as your governmental funds. So we're required that they're required to be put as overspent, but we didn't issue a finding for it because it's not something that you guys have been required to budget for in the past, and it's due to a new accounting standard. But that's something that in the future should be looked at for budgeting purposes, is those new funds that are now included in your guys' audit report. So pages 30 and 31 of your audit report tells you each fund that was overspent for the year. And then if you go further down into in the audit report, you'll show there'll be budget actual schedules for like the major funds. But the page 30 and 31 is where you'll see each fund that's overspent.
You say the major funds, but in our budget we do it by department. And so we don't know which departments are over and which ones aren't. So why wouldn't it be outlined by department, the budgets?
It says on page 31 in the budget that we received email before the last board meeting. As of August 31st, 2021, the county had no funds with a deficit fund balance. So there's nobody as of that time that had a deficit in their budget that they found.
Okay.
It's on page 31, the bottom, on bottom of note 2, it says that.
Okay. We also have, when did the board decide on the scope of the audit? Or who decided
Right
the
here.
scope of the audit?
The scope of the audit?
Yes.
So the scope of the audit is based on auditing standards, so that's through the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. That's, what we follow for auditing standard purposes. That tells us what the scope of an audit consists of, and we also follow government auditing standards, which is one of the opinions that we're required to put. So we basically follow standards that are given to us by those two agencies that we use to scope the audit. So if we're talking like materiality thresholds, like what we look at, there's materiality is determined based on, assets and revenues of the county, and that basically determines, what for auditing standards we are required to test, for cash, any kind of reconciling items, things like that, there's different scopes within materiality thresholds that we use. But as far as like the scope of an audit, that's all given to us based on, auditing standards that's required from the federal government.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Josh?
Yeah, I got one.
You got one more question?
Okay.
Yeah, so the last auditor terminated is due to a risk level and a lack of compliance with internal controls and grant compliance. What changed from fiscal year 19 to 20, or are we in fiscal year 21? So 20 to 21, what changed from then till now that we come out with no findings?
So what we do for internal control purposes is we do walkthroughs with the departments that so in total, an audit is a risk-based audit. So what we do is we go, determine what departments are most risky as far as it relates to the county. So, most of the funds going through the treasurer's office, there's the county clerk's office for accounts payable, payroll. Those types of things are what we determine, based on a risk assessment threshold. And then what we do is we do walkthroughs with those departments to determine where deficiencies in internal controls may lie. So we did health department, we did walkthroughs with the health department, we did walkthroughs with the treasurer's office, we did walkthroughs with the county clerk's office in those different controls. And based on our walkthroughs that we did, there was less deficiencies than what the prior auditor had determined. And that's all it's judgment based on auditors' parts. We did all the compliance testing for the public transportation grants. We did specific walkthroughs for the health department, the payroll, and the sheriff's department. And what we deemed as material is what we reported in the audit. So that's kind of how we report things, is based on those risk assessments and that materiality threshold. So it's more of a judgment based between auditors, but each auditor does their own risk assessments, and that's how things are determined.
Okay, I have one more question. We were not,
Yep.
Yeah, we were not classified low risk, but there again we had no findings. So how do we get to a low risk status and then also not have findings?
Yeah, so the low risk versus high risk is determined based on several different factors. So you have to have two years of a single audit back to back. You have to have no material weaknesses, and you have to have no findings. So based on those different criteria that you guys didn't meet those criteria because you didn't have a single audit in the last 2 years. So that's why, actually, I can look to see exactly why you guys are high risk. Don't let me tell you why I think so without actually confirming. But there's different criteria that you guys have to follow. And it's more just, if you didn't meet the criteria, then you become high risk. And basically what that means is that we're required to test, if you're low risk, we test 20%. We have to test 20% of major federal program. If you're high risk, we have to test 40%. That's really just where it determines. It just might mean we have to test more major programs So let me pull it up real quick so I can tell you exactly what it was. Okay, so it was because, so for your guys' audit report, you're required to submit it to the federal government within 9 months after the fiscal year end. So the last year's audit was submitted to the federal clearinghouse after 9 months, and that's what caused it to be high risk. So it's more of a timing than anything. So it wasn't anything compliance related. It wasn't anything that you guys weren't doing. It's more just the timing of the audit being submitted to the federal clearinghouse. So, I'm hoping that we can get that corrected next year for the 2022 audit, and then moving forward, after 2 years, you guys should be considered low risk after that. Sorry, that was a long way to get to the answer, but we got there in the end.
I think it just popped up and said we got 10 minutes left on our Zoom.
Yep.
If you want to, any other questions for Josh? I think the questions are over. If you would like to continue where you were going to go on before the questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I can make this last part quick.
If I'm not mistaken, for our audit, didn't we have something like $41,000 budgeted for this particular audit? And I believe our expenses for this audit is coming in considerably higher than that. Would there have been some additional expenses that were accrued?
You mean what their bid was?
Yes.
I thought their bid was in the
60-some
$60s.
thousand dollars is what the bid was.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember that RFP that we sent out when that came back in.
Well, I was thinking there was another company that had put a bid in that was in the $61,000.
And this one was in the same, the other one was like 64, 65, this one was like 61, 62.
Okay.
If I remember right. My
I
numbers
haven't
skewed,
checked
maybe it's
for
been
sure.
since December of 21 since I looked at that. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay. I'll make the last couple things quick. That way, if there's any questions, I can address those before the time's ended. So, the last couple things is just kind of letting you guys know your revenue by function. So obviously, you guys have several different revenue sources. 60% of your guys' revenues come from taxes and grants. So that does not include property taxes. That's more your income taxes, your sales taxes, your use taxes. Your revenues from the state of Illinois and federal government. That's 60% of your guys' total revenue for the county. 25% of your guys' total revenue for the county comes from property taxes. Obviously, that's is a big revenue source. So, I wanted to specify that it's 25%. 8% comes from charges for services, and then 5% comes from fines and fees. On the expense side, 43% of your guys' expenses goes to public works and transportation, so your guys' highway department and township expenses. General control and administration is 18%, public safety 17%, health and other your public health is 11%, and judiciary is 8%. So those are kind of your top 5 percentages of your expense functions there. So the other thing I just kind of noticed is for your guys' assessed valuation. Obviously, I just talked about 25% of your property taxes, or your revenue being from property taxes. Obviously, a lot of that comes from assessed valuation and your tax rates. Your assessed valuation for the last few years has continued to go up. Along with that, you guys keep your real estate taxes rates are continuing to go down. So as valuation goes up, rates go down. You guys are able to keep your revenues stable, but you keep your tax rates low for your constituents. So just kind of like to let you guys know that, because obviously that's a big part of your guys' revenue source and how that all plays out. So that's really all I have on the audit and highlights from the audit concern. But I can answer any questions that you guys have. If you guys have anything, I'm more than happy to do so.
Any other questions? Anybody else have a question for Josh? Looks like we're good, Josh.
All right, thank you. And if you guys need anything, feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and I'll answer any questions you guys have afterwards.
All right, thanks for coming back today and doing it, presenting it again.
Okay, no problem. Happy to do so. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks,
You
Josh.
too.
Bye.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the audit report as presented? Teresa, almost said Julie. Is there a second? Barb? Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the audit report, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I will take a motion to adjourn. Barb, do I have a second? Larry? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Safe trip back.